And we immediately got these incredible rave comments from all of his peers who basically were saying, no one has ever done research like this, no one has ever done anything on this scale, it's amazing, it's great, it's wonderful, which was gratifying but not surprising.
I remember a reporter at the New York Times, one of the Metro editors, saying to me that to be a good reporter on the city desk who covers politics, one must read The Power Broker. To this day, in my conversations with reporters, just how The Power Broker has informed, many careers. I mean, it really has.
The Power Broker never was a bestseller at the beginning. It's gone right on selling.
It has, in effect, subsidized his 20 plus years on the LBJ.
Look, see, I had thought that would be the only book I would ever do. I was sure, all I wanted to do was get back to a regular paycheck. I mean, I just wanted to get done with it so I could go back to Newsday. But I never thought I'd get to do another book, but things worked out, so in fact I could.
When he finished, he's saying, I wanted to do something about national politics. And it was really funny because he says, I'm going to suggest Lyndon Johnson to Gottlieb.
He obviously wanted to go on writing biography, and he told me that he wanted to write a biography of Mayor Fiorello LaGuardia. I said to him, to Bob, I don't think this is a good idea, because however interesting LaGuardia was, he basically was an historical accident. What interests you is the use of power, and I think you should do Lyndon Johnson.
And he came out so excited because he says, Gottlieb suggested it.
And Bob said, well, I've always wanted to write about Johnson, but it's an endless project, and there's no way I can afford it. And I said, that's not your problem. That's for me and Lynn to figure out. We'll figure out a way for you to do what you want to do, but that's what I think you should do. So he was thrilled, because it was really what he wanted to do.
Robert Caro's more than 28-year odyssey into the years of Lyndon Johnson would bring him to LBJ's childhood in Johnson City, Texas, and of course to the sublime LBJ Library and Museum in Austin, Texas. Here are kept the papers of Lyndon Johnson's career in government, 4 floors of boxes of papers, more than 35 million documents. To date, he and Ina, his wife and only researcher, have combed through over 3,000 boxes. The years of Lyndon Johnson has so far consumed a third of a lifetime, but Bob at one time thought it would take him only a few years to finish.
I began to realize that I didn't understand these people. This whole country was very isolated, very remote. The people were very different from New Yorkers. And I wasn't understanding the land and the country with the people, and therefore I didn't feel I was understanding Lyndon Johnson. So I asked Ina if we could move there. And of course she always is happy to do it. So we rented a house for 3 years up near Johnson City. It was originally supposed to be 2 volumes. But after about 4 or 5 years, I went to my editor, and I said, I want to write a whole volume just on the young Lyndon Johnson. Luckily, he agreed to that.
He is enormously interested in how power is created and executed in the American political system.
In the first 3 volumes, he had to set the stage and explain an entire phenomenon of American politics.
Means of Ascent was supposed to only have been a chapter.
This kind of state politics and state election and stolen election. Nobody really knows anything about that, how that worked. In volume 3, no one really had an understanding of how the Senate worked, how it was run, and how that had to be all explained so that when Johnson takes it over and dominates it, so you see what a dramatic story that is.
In 1990, Caro thought it would take only 3 years to complete the 3rd volume. It took 12.
During those 12 years, I was doing research not only on that book, but for the last book, Presidency. The reason I had to do that was that all these people were getting old and dying, you know, and I needed the information they could give me, and only they could give me. You can only get from interviews.
What he does is interview people by the hundreds, maybe the thousands, and then deals with the problem of who's lying and who's expanding and who is telling too much or who is making up a story about a relationship with a schoolmate, let us say, who became very famous, the most powerful figure in America.
But we do know about the presidency. He does not have to explain the presidency in the same way that he has to explain Texas politics or the nature of the Senate and its history. So that's going to save a lot of time. This is what I tell myself.
So the hope is that the next book won't take as long as the others. My track record is not too good on that, however. Yes.
We're very, very proud of our association with Bob and about the work that he's doing and the way that he's doing it. I think finally it's going to be a sequence of books that's going to be read as long as people are going to be interested in how America found itself where it is at the end of the 20th century. And we'll wait impatiently, but we won't let Bob Caro know how impatient we feel, because essentially he's doing it the only way he knows how to do it.
The question I am most frequently asked is, when is the next volume of Robert Caro's LBJ biography going to be published?
He's in his mid 60s. I'm over 70, and since he thinks he can only do it with me, which I have told him for years is not the case, you know, I don't know, how long am I going to be around?
And of course, I hope I live long enough to get to volume 4, because that's going to be the good one.
I think that Bob and Ina made unusual sacrifices personally in the early stages of his career for him to do what he has done. And it's had a fairy tale ending. He's had it all as a writer in terms of the prizes, the royalties, the reviews, the adulation, tremendous following of people.
Well, we were both considerably younger when we met, and it has been wonderful in a sense to, you know, grow together or grow in our separate careers and have this long relationship.
You know, obviously it's been a very, very interesting and very rewarding experience editing Caro. And I think it's a triumph of human nature. We have emerged better friends with more respect for each other than we had at the start. And I'm sure he'd say the same.
Yeah, I think it's been a wonderful life for the two of us. It's been a very exciting life, but you don't always get what you deserve. When I was young, I felt that you did, but I see now with friends that have written wonderful books that have sort of died after a couple of weeks or haven't really even made it into the bookstores, that you don't always get what you deserve. And I'm just thrilled that Bob's books are read so widely and receive rewards like this. And it's been wonderful for me to have been his researcher on these books. I mean, how many times in your life does a person who wants to do research have an opportunity like this? And he also, being his researcher and working on the books, has taught me how to write, so that I was able to write my own book. And I can't ask for anything more.
What makes me happy is to go into bookstores 20 years after your book and they see none of my books have ever been out of print in either hardcover or paperback. And it's just the world's best feeling to go in and see that they're still there on the shelves. Because if the things that I found out are worth knowing about political power, then it's worth knowing for more than one generation. You want people to know it, so you want the books to go on. All these books, to tell you the truth, are thrilling to me. I consider myself the luckiest writer in the world to be able to do these things, and I can't actually wait to get into this presidential stuff now.